Welcome all. So, in the previous class we were talking about the current changes which have taken place in the past some period of time or in the some recent past. Some changes, some new trends have come up, some changes have been experienced or seen by the industry in India also, and I discussed with you those changes that now the role of the service industry is the highest or the biggest as compared to the other two sectors. Then we talked about that now the say global competition has changed the working spheres, and then we have discussed that technological advances have also changed the entire process, right. So, as these things have come up in the markets, the challenges to the management accountants have also increased. Now, since the competition has increased in the market, so continuously they are under pressure how to reduce the cost of production, because people have got the choice, customers have got the choice. See, biggest example is your telecom sector. There was a time when we had to apply for a landline telephone to the Department of Telecommunication, and once we, after 2, 3, 4 years of our application, once we say got a phone, it was considered as a miracle or something, say we can call it as a wish coming true, and we were worshipping the phone like our god, and it was really something fantastic we have got in the life, or something very useful and wonderful we have got in the life. Today you see that people are roaming with mobile phones everywhere, every person, whether he has the money to eat food or say have the 3 meals food with him or not, but he is carrying a mobile phone, and it is at the throwaway prices, it is so cheap. So, it is because of the technological advancements, it is because of the say growth of the services sector, it is because of the growth of the stiff competition in the telecom sector. So, it has happened in every sector. Supply side has improved, and the improvement in the supply side has say facilitated the customer, but really put forward the challenges for the manufacturers. So, naturally your budgeting has changed, your controlling process has changed, and in between your costing process has changed, and say your overall the profitability, maintaining the desired profitability has become a challenging factor. Now, we talk about certain other changes in the market. Say for example, in the inventory management, today we are talking about just in time. Earlier we had one single technique, that is EOQ, order of inventory, or EOQ, amount of inventory, or EOQ, technique of inventory management, economic order quantity. Today that technique, I do not say that that has become irrelevant, that is still relevant in most of the parts of the world, in most of the economies in the world, but now we also have the just in time. And just in time is again brought in the practice for the industry with the major objective of reducing the cost, because when you have to bring the material in advance, store it, use it as and when it is required, you have the ordering cost, you have the storage cost, you have the handling cost, you have the preservance cost, and there is a pilferage also, wastage also, and there is a obsolescence also. All costs are there when you keep the inventory. So, manufacturers thought, can't we have a method or technique of inventory management where on the one side a truckload of inventory comes straightway to the plant, and a truckload of the finished goods goes from the plant to the market, we do not need to keep any inventory with us. So, why it was thought about? It is not difficult that we can't keep inventory, we can keep inventory, that is more safe, but to avoid the cost, to minimize the cost, to lower the cost, we developed just in time. But just in time is not possible to be implemented in a economy like India, where we have the very poor supply chain systems. But in the countries like Japan, where this technique is implemented, that is there also there it can be implemented, but not fully as it was thought in the beginning. There also the minimum inventory has to be kept, but to a larger extent those countries have solved their problems of lowering down the stocks level or inventory levels because of the improved supply chain systems, because of the improved transportation system, roads, railways, and the air transport, and they can afford to have minimum stock of the material, as and when it starts coming down, they can have it or they can replace it with the new lot of the material. So, just in time means why it is there, because we have to reduce the cost of production and finally pass on an efficient product to the customers. Now, we are talking about the computer aided designs. We are talking about the CAD, computer aided designs. Computer aided designs are really very helpful to increase the efficiency of the product and minimize the resources required for manufacturing that product and lowering down the cost and the price. Now, for example, you talk about designing of cars. Today we have multiple different type of the designs of the cars. Maruti was instrumental, they were the pioneer in India to bring the small car in the country, and at that time their thinking was that even a common man in India can think of having a car. So, Maruti 800 was a design, is a miracle of design, that you have avoided the back part of the car, at least people can have the car. It is a small car, but it is a car and it can give the comforts of the car. Later on there was a series of the models in the market. All the multinational companies came in 1991 and after that to India's market, and today see that every now and then we see the new designs of the cars. So, how this has all become possible? It is not manually, it is not possible. Had it been possible, your Hindustan Motors who were manufacturing ambassador car, they would have really done it, or the Premier Padmini or maybe that Fiat, they could have really done it, who were selling the cars in Indian market since independence. So, it was not possible. With the growth of technology, with the improvement in the technological processes, we have got new designing systems. Today we have the computer aided designs, and that allows the companies to design products that can be manufactured very efficiently in all respects, including cost, price, distribution and handling. Even small changes in design often leads to the large manufacturing cost savings. So, your ultimate objective is how to reduce the cost, and if the cost comes down, certainly the price will come down. So, there you need all management accounting techniques, because we use all costing techniques here for decision making, we use the financial accounting techniques for decision making, and some of these two helps us to take the better, appropriate and the efficient decisions. Then we have the CAM, computer aided manufacturing. It is not only helping in designing, it is helping the companies even to manufacture the products. All your defense products are largely based upon CAM. It allows the computers to direct and control the production equipments, and it is not only helping in the manufacturing of the products, but operating the products. Now, we have got the driverless trains, we have got the driverless cars. Trains are very common in US, driverless trains are local trains, they are very common in US, they are controlled by the computers, by the people sitting in one control room. Train runs without driver, there is no driver at all. So, designing, manufacturing and operating of the products have become, or totally it has changed, they have become computer based. It means certainly the entire business process has changed and put forward the new challenge. Now, why we removed the driver from the train in US? We wanted to save the cost. Means one person sitting in the control room can run a train or maybe more than one trains at the same point of time. So, it means we can save the driver's cost. CAM often leads to a smoother, more efficient flow of the production with fewer delays. It is very effective manufacturing process, very effective. Ultimate objective is the reduction of cost and maximizing the profits by keeping the price under control. Now, we have the CIM, computer integrated manufacturing, utilizes both CAD and CAM. First we design and then we manufacture with the robots and the computer controlled machines. The small amount of the labor required in this manufacturing process allows for greater flexibility, since changes are made to computer programs without retraining the entire workforce. See, in the other countries, we are not talking about India, it is a labor efficient country. We have the surplus labor and it is available at a very cheap price. But think about the US, think about Europe, even in Japan, the labor is very expensive. And there they are thinking about that the labor factor can be minimized, or labor cost can be minimized, or maybe brought down to zero. If, for example, if everything we are running through technology, in that case our cost will be seriously coming down. Product is highly efficient and is better than how the human resources or the human beings or the people can manufacture the product on the machine. And if there is any change in the design of the product, then there is no need to train the workforce which is already manufacturing it. Computer automatically changes it, they start manufacturing a new product, and again we are here to save the cost and to pass on this cost, the benefit of this cost to the customers, because competition for the manufacturing side is very, very strong. Severe competition is there. All manufacturers, they are say fighting with each other, they have to face the competition, and if they are not able to take the help of the technology, reduce the cost of production, then certainly the customers would reject their product or the service. So naturally we will have to think every day. It's a constant regular decision making, regular thinking, regular planning, regular budgeting, and regular say planning for the new things, because ultimately it has become, all economies in the world have become the buyers economies, they are not sellers economies. Once they are the buyers economies, because people have got the choices. So people have got the strength and the power to reject any product at any point of time and to look for the alternatives. So to sustain in the market, to gain or regain the market share or maximize the market share, we will have to continuously thinking upon. That is why I told you that now the budgeting horizon, when you talk about the operating budgets, you talk about the cash budgets, you talk about any other budgets, which is very, very strong tool for say planning of doing anything or implementing any process. You need to have the budgets or plans, and with the help of the very, very efficient IT systems in big companies, the budgeting horizon has come down from 1 year to 1 week. There was a time when we were preparing the budgets only for 1 year, and at the end of the year we were making a variance analysis if anybody was doing, and we were coming to know that whether we have ended up having the profit or loss. We were not knowing in between, because there was no internal reporting, there was no regular reporting in between, and because of the lack of the information reporting and the data, firms were not able to correct their problems, their mistakes during the process, and only it was a post-mortem comparison at the end of the budget period or the budgeting horizon. Today we have the 1 week as the budgeting horizon. We are planning, we are preparing the entire production budget for 1 week. We are preparing the entire sales budget for 1 week, and at the end of the week we make the say analysis that how far we have fared in the market, and do we need to make any kind of the changes in our budgets? Are we able to achieve the objectives, or some changes are required to be done? So it means if there anything goes wrong in the first week, it can be corrected in the next week, in the next week, or in the next week. So though the weekly budgeting is not possible for all the companies, but at least monthly budgeting is possible for all the companies. So with the easy availability of data, information, sources of data, and the analysis, monthly budgeting is very, very useful tool, and we come to know that annual objectives certainly would be achieved when, if in any month we do anything and it goes wrong, then we can do it in the next month, second, third, fourth, fifth. We have 12 months, we have 12 budgets. So if one budget goes wrong, second will do well, third will do well. Ultimately the annual results can be improved. So this all has happened with the help of the say the process, the data, the information we have, and we need this data, this information, and constant and regular decision making for improving our day-to-day process and overall performance of the firm. And here management accountant's job is to generate that data, identify the data which is useful for us, make use of that, and finally take the decisions based upon that information, that data. So I would again say that under management accounting we will draw relevant information from financial accounting and cost accounting, but how to use that information and how to draw meaningful inferences from that information, how to use that data and information appropriately in the firm, that we are learning in this subject, and that is why this new branch of accounting has been evolved, has been developed by the experts, and we are learning about that. Now I will take you to the next part, because sufficiently we have talked about, we have spent sufficient time on say about 5 lectures we have devoted on the basics or the fundamentals of management accounting, learning about that how it is useful, and as a third branch of accounting why it has been developed, how it is useful and how it facilitates the management decision making, what is the subject or the management accounting as such as a subject. So, we have talked sufficiently at length about all these things, and now I think it is the time to move forward to learn about the different techniques of cost accounting and financial accounting which are relevant for the management decision making, and learn about how the management decision making can be facilitated by say using the different techniques of financial accounting and the cost accounting. Now, we are going to talk about the something which is called as cost sheet or the statement of the cost. I talked to you, I showed you the statement, the format, that how the cost sheet is prepared, how the statement of the cost is prepared, and we normally have the data from the internal records available with us, and with the help of that data we can prepare the cost sheet and we can find out that what will be the cost of the product for the given period of time. We have the selling price from the market. So, if we compare the cost with the selling price, we can find out the operating profits. We are ending up with the operating profit or the operating loss, or how the loss can be converted into profit and how the profit can be improved. All these things we will be learning about with the help of this cost sheet. So, when you talk about this cost sheet, here is the information available with us, and if you read this information, if you look at this information, so we are simply given the data or that information about prepare cost sheet and work out cost of sales, profit, sales and profit from the given information drawn from the books of Alpha India Limited. Now, you look at this information is total which is given to us. Now, as a student of this subject, we must be capable of identifying that we are going to prepare the cost sheet or the statement of the cost, not the profit and loss account or the balance sheet. So, we should be aware about that to calculate the total cost of the product, which information is useful for us, which information is relevant for us, and how to make use of that. So, the cost sheet, as I have shown you the pro forma in the previous lectures or in the last part of discussion, sometimes you know it that what the cost sheet is, that we have on the one side all the cost factors, on the other side we have all the values of those cost factors, and then finally we keep on putting them one by one, and we do not jump to straightway to calculate the total cost of the product. We divide it into different 4 or 5 different kind of the sub costs, and finally we sum up these 4 or 5 costs or maybe the 4 costs, and then we end up calculating the total cost of the product or the cost of the product, cost of the sales or cost of the product to be sold in the market. So, we divide it into different costs, sub costs. First we calculate which cost, that is the prime cost. First cost is the prime cost, second cost is the works cost. When in the prime cost you add up all factory overheads, then it becomes the works cost or the factory cost, and then when we add all office and administrative overheads, then we calculate the cost of production, and then when we add up the selling and distribution overheads in the cost of production, then finally we say arrive at the cost of the product to be sold in the market, or you can call it as cost of sales. So, we are not jumping straightway to calculate the total cost of the product, because we want to facilitate the control of the cost, and that is only possible if you know that how to control the cost, means if it is bifurcated into different units and sub units. It is a sort of responsibility centers. Prime cost is the one responsibility center, works cost is another responsibility center, cost of production is the another responsibility center, cost of sales is the another responsibility center. So, we have the 4 responsibility centers. If the cost of the product is going up beyond our control, we will have to look first of all, is the cost, prime cost at the acceptable level, or the works cost is more, I think it is not at the acceptable level. So, it means you have not to touch the other costs, you have not to touch the prime costs, you have not to touch the administrative overheads, nor you have to touch the selling and distribution overheads. You only have to touch one, is that is the factory overheads, works overheads, because when you compare our factory overheads with the other competitors' factory overheads. They are spending too less as compared to our expenses. So, we will have to focus only upon the factory overheads. Similarly, if the cost of production is creating a problem, up to works cost it is fine, then you have to look for that our administrative overheads are very high. We will have to reduce the administrative expenses, or it may be the selling and distribution expenses. So, there are the different 4 responsibility centers, and we will have to find out at which center what cost is there, whether it is at the acceptable level, whether it is competitive or not, and anything is, if required to be done, we will have to do that. So, from this information, if you look at now, you have to first read the information given to us. In the real life tomorrow also, whatever the information is available to you or maybe to anybody in the practical life, first we have to look for that for preparing the cost sheet or the statement of the cost, all information is not important for us. Only some limited information is important for us, because we have to calculate the cost, operating cost. So, we have to calculate the prime cost. So, what is required in the prime cost? Only 3 things: material, labor and the other direct overheads. For calculating the factory cost, you need to have the prime cost and the factory overheads. Anything which is not included in the prime cost and it is required in the factory, that is the factory component of the cost of the factory, part of the factory overheads. Then which ones are the administrative overheads? Office rent, office depreciation, employee salaries, all these are the administrative overheads. So, look for those overheads, and selling and distribution expenses. So, these are the 4 broad heads of expenses which are important for us for this case. On the basis of that, we will prepare a cost sheet, and that cost sheet will help us, guide us to attain that cost which has been worked out in the cost sheet or in the statement of the cost. So, I have brought to you an hypothetical example or a hypothetical say information that if you have this kind of information tomorrow in your practical life, then how to make use of this information for developing a cost sheet or the statement of the cost, and finally deciding that how much should be the cost, and if we are given the sales amount, budgeted sales amount also, then we can pre-plan and know it in advance the operating profit we can expect from our production process and the sales. Now, here you look at that number 1 here is, that is the different information given here is, we have on this side the total inputs, means it is not a trial balance, it is nothing, it is only a information. Means if you have the trial balance, in the trial balance you have the heads of accounts, on the right hand side you have 2 balances, debit balance and credit balance, right. So, we know, we have some idea that debit balances will go to which side of the profit and loss account and balance sheet, and credit balances will go to which side of the profit and loss account and balance sheet. But here from this information we have no idea, because it is not the trial balance. It is a say continuous information given to us in a tabular form, that we have this all information available with us, and we want to develop the cost sheet or estimated cost of the product we are going to manufacture. So, what would be the cost, total cost for the total units we are manufacturing, and the selling, if the sales value, for example, in this case we are given the sales value 1,89,500 rupees. So, this is the expected sales value. These all are the input cost or the say heads of the cost. So, now you prepare a cost sheet and then try to find out what is the operating profit, what is the total cost, what is the operating profit, and we are given the sales. So, we will have to now learn preparing the cost sheet as a first tool or under the management accounting, though the cost sheet is a tool of cost accounting, but we will have to use it in the management accounting, and by developing this cost sheet, we will know how to develop it, that we have learned under the cost accounting, but after developing this cost sheet, how to make use of this information, that is we are going to learn here. So, it means since it is new to you, so we are doing both the things. We are developing the first the cost sheet or the statement of the cost, and then we will interpret the information there, and we will use it for the strategic decision making in the firm, right. So, now we have first, before say preparing it and going forward, let us discuss this information, that where this information could be put into the cost sheet, and which part of the cost sheet it can be useful to say include in the which type of the cost. So, for example, we are given here the information is like direct material. Now, as I told you that in the say for calculating the prime cost, we need three things: material, labor, first is material, second is labor, third is the direct overheads. So, it means we are clearly given, it is the simplest form of the example. We will increase the level of difficulty in the subsequent problems, but this is the simplest form of the problem here. So, directly we are given here, we have the direct material which is required for manufacturing the product which this firm Alpha India Limited manufactures. Then we are given the direct wages. So, always differentiate between wages and salaries. Wages are to be the part of the prime cost and salaries are the administrative overhead and they have to be the part of the administrative cost. So, never include the salaries into the wages or wages into the salaries. Be very clear, wage is a direct expense whereas the salary is the indirect expense, right. Then we have the direct expenses. So, it means it is a other direct expenses means other direct overheads. So, we have material, we have wages and we have the other direct expenses. So, in this case if you want to prepare the cost sheet and calculate the first component of the cost of the total cost, that is the prime cost. So, we have the three important components of the material, labor and the other expenses. We have material of 100,000 worth 100,000, direct wages 25,000 and direct expenses 5,000. So, if I will prepare it, but just for the sake of simplicity, see if you calculate the prime cost here, it works out to be 130,000 rupees, 1,30,000 rupees. Now, you will proceed further, means once the prime cost is there, that is the 130,000 rupees. Now, next item is wages of foreman. Wages of where the foreman works, he works in the factory, he is a technical person, but he is not a direct person, he only is required when there is any defect, any fault. When the plant is going on, it is going on. It is not like material, labor or the other direct expenses. It is indirect overhead, but required in the factory. So, it is a part of the factory cost. Then is the lighting and power. Lighting is required in the factory, we know it. Power means especially when it is given to us, lighting and power. So, it means power and say lighting and power is given to us. If you look at this, we are given the electric power. When it is written only electrical, you may be confused, but it is clearly written electric power. Electric power is always required in the factory. So, it will be the indirect factory overhead. Lighting, you are clearly given where we need the lighting. We need the lighting in the factory also, we need the lighting in the office also. So, you have to put the factory lighting in the factory overheads and the office lighting in the administrative overheads. Then you have the storekeeper wages. There are two words, one is the storekeeper and another is the warehouse. Store we use for storing the raw material and warehouse we normally use the term for storing of the finished goods. So, if it is a storekeeper wages, you make it as the part of the factory cost, but if it is a warehouse expense, then you make it as the part of the selling and distribution overheads, right. Oil and water, clear, it is required in the factory. Then we talk about the rent. Rent is factory and office. Now, clearly given, part of the rent 5,000 is for the factory to be the part of the factory cost and 2,500 is the part of the office rent as a part of the administrative overheads. Repair and renewals, factory plant and office premises. You are clearly given that how much is required in the office, how much is required in the factory plant, 3,500 in the factory, 500 in the office. So, it means 4,000 rupees total expense is there on the repair and renewals, but clearly given to us. Carriage outwards. Carriage outwards is basically the carriage on sales. Anything which is going out of the factory, that is called as carriage outwards. So, carriage outwards means when the what goes out of the factory, it is the finished product. So, it means it is a carriage on sales and it will be the part of the sales and distribution overheads will come for calculating the cost of the product to be sold in the market, that will be added into the administrative cost as the carriage outwards. Then we have the next thing is the transport reserves. Now, you see, reserves are not the part of any cost. Reserves are created only in the profit and loss appropriation account. That when we have the profit worked out in the profit and loss account, then extension of the profit and loss account is the profit and loss appropriation account. So, this is how this account, this statement tells us how the profit earned by the firm will be distributed. Part of the profit goes to the shareholders as dividend part of the profit is transferred to the balance sheet as reserves. So, it is not at all related to the cost, it is a profit and loss appropriation item and we will not include in the cost sheet anymore. So, you have to reject this item. Discount on the shares written off is not a cost sheet item, it is a share capital related item, it will go to the balance sheet and nothing to do here. Depreciation. Factory plant, office premises, clear? Factory plant is a part of the factory cost, office premises is a part of the administrative overheads. Consumable stores are always required in the factory, consumable stores are always required in the factory. So, it means it is going to be the part of the factory overheads and will be the part of the factory cost. So, while calculating the factory cost after the prime cost, you can add the consumable stores. Manager salaries, you can understand where the manager is sitting, he is sitting in the factory or in the office, he is sitting in the office. We use the term manager is in the office, it is administrative overhead. So, add up in the factory cost means after factory cost it will be the added up as a administrative overhead and will help us to calculate the cost of production. Directors fees is again a administrative overhead. Office stationery clearly is a administrative overhead. Telephone charges again a administrative overhead. Postage and telegram is again a administrative overhead. So, these all expenses up till this are expenses related to the prime cost, expenses related to the factory cost and expenses related to the cost of production. Now, other expenses here are the expenses which will be after the administrative calculating the cost of production and these expenses, for example, salesman salaries. Salesman salaries are again the part of the selling and distribution cost which will be added into the administrative overheads and will be helping us to calculate the cost of the product to be sold. Then is the travelling expenses, then is the advertising, means travelling expenses is normally we allow to the salesman, means those not clearly given, it can be administrative expense also, but travelling expenses we assume here if nothing is specifically mentioned then we assume here that it is allowed only to the salesman and it has to be the part of selling and distribution overhead. So, it is a treat it as a say selling and distribution overhead. Advertising certainly it is required for the sales, not for any kind of the production. Then we have the warehouse charges are say 500 rupees. Now, you see we have both the things, store expenses also and warehouse charges also. Storehouse expenses they will go in the factory cost and warehouse charges will be the cost of the product to be sold, that is the cost of sales and that will be added as the selling and distribution overhead, not as the administrative or the factory or the prime cost item. And then after that we have the sales information. So, we will prepare the cost sheet and at the end we will write here means total cost, then is the sales and in between we will create a figure that will be a difference between the sales and the cost and that will be called as the operating profit. We have other items also, say for example income tax and dividend. Income tax and dividend they also are the part of the profit and loss account. Income tax is the part of profit and loss account and dividend is the part of the profit and loss appropriation account. So, transfer to the reserves and dividend they are the part of the profit and loss appropriation account. So, they are nowhere concerned with the for example, you talk about when we prepare the profit and loss appropriation account, here this is the same format we are preparing, this is called as profit and loss appropriation account. So, what we do here is we put the total profit on the one side, this is the account here we want to write here the account and in this case this is the profit and loss appropriation account. So, what we do here is this is the debit side and this is the credit side, right. So, we write here by profit and loss account whatever the total profit or you can write here as the by net profit after tax, by net profit after tax whatever the total amount comes here, for example it is 10,000 rupees, right. Now, first of all we will write here to dividend. Dividend for example it is 2000 rupees is distributed as dividend. then to say some specific reserve we want to create. There are different reserves which are created for the specific purpose. We want to transfer 3000 rupees for that, and then finally is to transfer to general reserve, and remaining amount will be transferred to the general reserve. That amount is, say for example in this case, is 5000 rupees. So, both the sides are equal. This is 10,000 rupees and this is again 10,000 rupees, and your profit and loss account is balanced. Just to recall you, I just discussed with you that how these items, say for example the transfer to the reserves and the dividend will be taken care of, and income tax we provide only in the profit and loss account. That is, when you calculate the profit, after say subtracting all the expenses from the sales value, you arrive at two figures. First is PBT, profit before tax, then minus corporate tax or the income tax on the firm or the firm's income. When it is subtracted, you arrive at the PAT, that is a profit or the net operating profit after tax, that is called as no PAT. So, you arrive at the no PAT. So, income tax is required there. So, in this total information, you will not be making use of the transfer to reserves information, discount on shares written off, and then the income tax information and the dividend information. You will not make use of this information. You will only use the other items, and you should be knowing it very clearly where the say which are the prime cost items, which are the factory cost items, which are the cost of production items, which are sales and distribution items, and finally the items which give us the say factory cost, prime cost, factory cost, then the cost of production and cost of sales. So, once all these four heads of the cost, sub components of the cost are ready with us, we subtract, we calculate the total cost, subtract from the sales and calculate the net operating profit. So, this is the process how we prepare the cost sheet. I am theoretically explaining it to you, but in the next class I will be preparing here. From this information we will prepare the cost sheet, and then we will see that how this sheet is prepared. And a $1 million question is that preparing the cost sheet is not a difficult thing. These days we have the IT say supported systems, and if you have the relevant information available with you, and if you put it in the say IT systems or in the software, it will generate a cost sheet which will give us the total cost of the product. Here the $1 million question is how to look at that information. We want to see that, say, what is the purpose? Purpose is only the cost ascertainment, then we do not need management accounting, then cost accounting will serve the job. But if the purpose is a cost control, that is why we have devised this statement that purpose is a cost control innovatively, so that the efficiency of the product is not compromised, but the cost is kept under control, brought under control, and for that reason we have to look at the different components and sub components of the cost. We will have to look that, say, what is the prime cost, what is our factory cost, what is our cost of production, and what is the cost of sales. Now, who will tell us that whether our cost is more or less? You can make the say time series analysis of your own cost, means over the period of time the cost of production for a one particular product of the firm is going up, or it is remaining stable, or it is going down. It may be possible the cost is increasing because input cost is increasing. It may be possible that input cost has gone down and it may remain stable. This is one way of say comparing it. Second thing is how, means this is a cross section analysis. Cross section analysis means how the other companies are doing in the same field. We have to procure their cost sheet somehow, maybe by spying or maybe from some formal informal sources, and then we will have to compare that if the other company is able to have a X amount of the prime cost and ours cost is more than that, why it is so? How they are controlling the cost, from where they are procuring the raw material, how they are managing their workers, and how they are managing their other direct costs. Similarly, how they are managing their factory overheads. So, we will have to compare it, and the focal point here is the every company should try to compare it with the leader's performance, because there are the rankings of the firm in the market. One is at the top, then others are followers. So, how the top firm is able to reach up to that position, that how they are able to reduce the cost and to provide a very efficient product to the people at that particular price, and we are not able to reduce the cost of the product. So, we can make the time series analysis of our cost in the past, or we can make the cross sectional analysis of the cost of the other firms, and finally we can arrive at a conclusion that whether the cost is under control or not. And here the cost sheet, because we divide it into the 4 components of the cost. So, the purpose is that to know it, that if at any point of time the cost control is required to be attained or implemented, we need not to look at the entire cost sheet. We will compare our different subcomponents of the cost with the other company's costs and try to find out which point is the weak point. If our prime cost is very high, we will look at only 3 components: material cost, labor cost and the other direct overheads. And out of these 3 also, only material cost, for example, is the one which is worth looking, because material cost is somewhere 50 to 55 or even sometimes 60% of the total cost of the product. So, it is always better to hit upon the bigger element of the cost if we want to implement the cost control. If we want to achieve the cost control, then always hit at the biggest element, because for example, if the material cost is 50% and if we are able to reduce the material costs even by 10% of that 50%, it means we are able to reduce the overall cost of the product by 5%, because it constitutes the 50% cost of the product, of the total cost of the product. And if we are able to reduce the material cost even by 10%, then 5% cost of the product, overall cost of the product will be reduced. So, you can understand how much big difference is there. And if you, for example, you waste your time in analyzing the other direct overheads. Other direct overheads are, for example, say how much, you can say it is 2% of the total cost of the product. Even you say manage 50% of that, how much achievement you are going to make in the total cost of the product? Not a big amount. So, always we have to look at which are the bigger heads, which are the bigger components of the cost, total cost of the product. And if you want to control the cost, for example, we see that the material cost is now very high, we are finding the material cost is very high. Then you try to find out who are the suppliers of the leader or the best companies in the market, who are our suppliers. At what terms they are supplying the material to them, at what terms they are supplying the material to us. So, we should also be able to have the same terms, the material on the same terms which our competitors are able to have. If their sources are different, we have to look for the sources to reduce the cost of the material. So, in this case, we will have to find out. Now, for example, you talk about, say I was talking to you about the steel sector. In the steel sector, there is one source, because all the captive mines of the iron ore in India, they are in the control of SAIL. So, when the steel sector was opened up for the private sector participation, and when we had the Lloyd and SR Steel in the western part of the country and the Jindal's Steel in the western part of the country, Vijayanagar Steel plant in I think in Karnataka. So, now the option with these private sector companies is that either they can import the raw material from the other countries' markets, or if they have to buy the raw material from India, they have to buy it from SAIL. Now, if SAIL is their competitor in the finished product also. So, it may be possible that SAIL may not be selling them the material at a price which is comfortable to them or maybe acceptable to them. So, their choice should be that from where to get the raw material. They can import even the raw material from any other country, and they can convert that into the finished product to reduce the cost. For example, now the Jindal Steel Work has been importing the material from the, say, Middle East countries. They have the huge amount of the used steel, and they have the huge amount of the even iron ore also, which is available at a very cheaper price. They are importing from there and they are reducing their cost of production. So, it means we have to see that we have to hit at the biggest component of the cost, which is able to give us the minimum cost. If we are not able to, say, hit at the biggest component, smallest component which has 2, 3, 4% of the contribution to the total cost, then what is happening? We are only making the efforts, but we are not achieving the results. So, it means make the efforts there only where the outcome is maximum. So, and always the golden principle which we have to use here is all the times is the principle of the cost and benefits. Cost should always be less than the benefits derived out of that analysis or of that any say cost control technique. So, cost has to be certainly lesser than the benefits available. If it happens, go for it. If it does not happen, then do not go for implementing that kind of the decision. So, this is how means theoretically we could discuss what is the cost sheet and how we can prepare it and what is the relevant information for the cost sheet, but how to prepare the cost sheet and how to say finally look at the different components of the cost. From this information we will prepare a cost sheet in the next class, and then we will analyze it also, that how that cost sheet looks like and how we have to analyze it. That all we will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much.